In today's video, I've compiled my top 10 list of goalkeepers for you to go and sign in FM24. The keepers that you can put into your team, set and forget for the next 10 years, and just know that you've got a solid goalkeeper at the back. Not necessarily including the very best keepers like Alisson or Edison and Courtois, because they're very difficult to go and buy. But these guys, you should be able to pick up for your team. So let's get into it. Let's start with number 10. In at number 10, I've signed the current Chelsea goalkeeper, Gori Petrovic. He is currently in this save here in 2028. I've used my DOF save here to show you where they've ended up a little bit later on in the save. Of course, he starts at Chelsea, does Petrovic, turns into a very solid goalkeeper. He's here at Stuttgart and being linked with some really good teams actually in Frankfurt and Monaco, as well as the Saudi team Al Hilal. 6'4" goalkeeper, great jumping reach, decent aerial reach, really good reflexes, which I'm going to put forward as my most important attribute for a goalkeeper in Football Manager. Just for some reason, all of the best ones that I've ever had have always had really good reflexes, as well as having fairly low eccentricity, because there is nothing worse than that keeper that comes rushing out and misses the ball and just boots it straight at their player, etc, etc. You want solid for a keeper, don't you? Petrovic can be that guy because he's at Chelsea. He's not necessarily first choice as well at the start of the game. Here in this save, they've been able to pick him up for 38 million, but more recent in the save after he actually did turn into Chelsea's... No, he didn't. He didn't turn into their first choice keeper, but did play a few games. I think he's one that if you can pick him up, he shouldn't be too expensive and will be really solid for you. He comes in at number 10. In at number 9, let's have a look. And in at number 9, I've gone for this man here, a former favourite of mine, Georgi Mamadashvili, the Georgian goalkeeper who starts the game at Valencia. He's still a really young goalkeeper, actually. He's here in 2028. He's only 27 years old. So if you can get him early, he may cost you a fair amount, because at Valencia, they don't want to let him go for cheap because he's such a good young goalkeeper. If you can get him, he's amazing. However, he might just be expensive, which is why he's only in here at number 9 on my list. He's gone to Saudi here. Al Ali have picked him up. He's on £725,000 per week. That's quite a lot in terms of a wage. But if you can go and get the man that I like to call Big Mama, then you definitely should do. Again, he's got those high reflexes, a little bit more eccentric, but really amazing aerial reach, command of area, communication. 6'6" as well. He's listed as a world-class goalkeeper. He will be a world-class goalkeeper. Cost 42 million here, which is a lot of money, but that was in 2026 and they put him on silly wages. If you can get him a little bit early when he's younger, maybe you could get value for money, but that's why he's in at number 9. I love him. He's a great keeper, but maybe a little bit pricey. In at number 8, I've gone for Lucas Chevalier. Chevalier, who I don't think by looking at his attributes looks like the best goalkeeper necessarily. Also, your scout reports that you'll get on him are a little bit iffy sometimes, but every single time I've used him, he has been so good for me. And sometimes that can happen, can't it? You just want solid. This guy here, Lucas Chevalier, is very much solid. He's in the French national team in this particular save in 2028, and he's moved to Spurs for, I'm going to say not too much money, £18 million after being at Lille for all this time. You can definitely get value for money with Chevalier, maybe even less than £10 million if certain things go your way in the save. He's even wanted here by another Saudi team who just seem to be shopping for keepers at this particular time in this save. 6'2", does have that golden attribute makeup of having really high reflexes and low eccentricity. Maybe this is just the theme, and maybe this is what you need to do in your save. Just go and search for those things. Find the keepers that pop up there that are affordable for you. Lucas Chevalier, though, I used him a lot last year. I've used him plenty of times this year too, and he's just a really good, solid goalkeeper. Even if his attributes look a little bit low in some areas, I think you can kind of ignore them and know that you've got somebody solid here. I wonder what his average ratings are. Yeah, they're okay for a goalie. They'll usually go up a little bit as well if you've got him. If you're looking at around about a 7, you've got yourself a good keeper. He's just below that here, but I rate him quite highly. He comes in at number 8. Let's have a look at number 7. I'm going to give you Philip Jorgenson as my number 7 choice. And the reason for that is he's brilliant, first and foremost. He plays for Villarreal, starts the game at Villarreal, which is where he's still here in this save here in 2028. My one slight issue is that I think he might be a little bit pricey. When I've tried to sign him in the past, they've wanted quite a lot of money for him. He's really young as a keeper. I think he starts the game at 19 years old, if I'm not mistaken. turns into this keeper here, which is very, very good. Really high reflexes, really low eccentricity, great aerial reach. His attributes look brilliant. His value is a weird one, actually, between 22 million and 67 million here. He's not quite going to be unattainable like Alisson or Edison or Courtois, as I mentioned. You might be able to get him for your team because he's at Villarreal. He just might be quite expensive, but because of his age, because of his potential, I think you're getting yourself a brilliant goalkeeper. What's his average rating here? Similar to Chevalier's, maybe a little bit lower, but then again, he's at Villarreal. I really like him. My one qualm is that he might be expensive. If he seems cheap on your save, definitely go and snap him up would be my advice. Philip Jorgenson, the Swedish keeper, is in at number 7. Let's have a look at number 6. In at number 6, I'm going to go for a player that I actually have in this particular save. It is Alban Lefont. The reason is that I think he's very, very attainable and cheap for you to go and get. And he's been brilliant for me in this particular save with Paris FC. He's been my number 1 now for about 4 seasons. If you're watching that series, you know just how good he is doing. He still hasn't made that French debut, which is something we are chasing. He's in the French national team, but I think he's 3rd choice behind, by the way, Chevalier and Mike Maignan, who hasn't made my list here because he's so expensive, but what a keeper. If you can go and get Maignan, then maybe you can go and do that one anyway. 6'4" though, Alban Lefont. I think most of the time you can pick him up for about £5 million. We bought him here for Paris FC for 4.7. The fact that he is so cheap, he's so attainable and so solid when you do bring him in, means that he makes my list in at number 6 here. Really like him. 6'4". Again, low eccentricity, decent reflexes at 15. Great at his one-on-ones actually at 16 too. Maybe not going to be the top elite level of goalie that you might be looking for. But if you're anywhere below that, like I am here with Paris FC, he is more than solid and more than capable. So Alban Lefont makes quite a high position in my list, mainly because of how cheap he can be, mainly because of how attainable he is. Really like him though. He's number 6. Let's move through to the top 5. In at number 5 is going to be a fan favourite, and maybe for some of you is going to be your number 1 goalkeeper on FM24. I am happy to be argued with in a polite way, definitely. Debated, maybe that's a better word for it, because I know how good Diogo Costa is. He is a goalkeeper that I have signed so many times in the past on FM23 and 22 and before that, and usually ends up going to a team like Newcastle, like he has done on this save here. My one qualm with him is that he's a little bit expensive. Also, he's not the tallest, although he does have okay jumping reach and decent aerial reach. 6'1". I'm being picky. I know he's a brilliant goalkeeper, really good with his feet. His kicking at 17, the reflexes at 16, low eccentricity too at 7. So he meets all of my demands for a goalkeeper. My one qualm is that he might be a little bit expensive, and maybe just for me. And I don't know if you guys get like this as well. If you sign a player too many times, you just really don't want to sign them anymore. Some of you I know will only sign a player once, and then you want to mix up and go for different players after that, because it can get a little bit boring if you go for the same players all the time. Maybe that's why I'm being a bit harsh with Diogo Costa. He comes in at number 5. I'm still rating him highly, but he's not quite going to be my number 1. Although in your saves, he would make a good number 1, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's go through to number 4. In at number 4, I'm going to go for Noah Ataba, a keeper that I really like in real life. Another one of these really young goalkeepers. Now, part of this list making is going to be the players that you can pick up for cheap. Maybe the younger ones, because you have more of a future with them. Noah Ataba, I really like for his potential in the game. I don't think we've seen his full potential being realised here, because he's been picked up by Bayern Munich, which in some ways shows what a good goalkeeper he should be. But if you pick him up early from Freiburg, which is where he starts the game, I think if you play him often, he's not had that many games with them. Look, £3 million and then 2 seasons of not playing. If you were to play him every single game, I think you'd get an even better goalie than this. 6'3", only 25. He starts the game at 18, I think it is, 18 or 19. Noah Ataba, German goalkeeper, under 21 international. I think he's going to be a German number 1 at some point in the save. Big fan of his. Really like him in real life, as I mentioned before. He could be so cheap for you, but I'm picking him up for 3 million here kind of proves that, doesn't it? I think if you want to build around a young keeper, this guy could be the guy for you. He comes in at number 4. Let's have a look now at my top 3. In at number 3, I've gone for a man called Lucas Perry, a Brazilian goalkeeper. No caps for Brazil in this save, which I find a little bit curious because I think he looks really good. He's now 30 in 2028 and he's playing for Leeds. I wonder if Leeds are in the Championship or in the Prem. Are they back in the Prem at this stage? They are indeed. So he's a Premier League goalkeeper. He is, I think, really, really impressive. He has those decent reflexes and low eccentricity. He's also 6'6", so that's probably why I like him the most. He is, I think, the third best goalie that you could go and sign in your saves. I think he's going to be quite cheap as well because he starts off the game playing in Brazil, meaning, I mean, Leeds have picked him up for 10.5 million to bring him to the Prem here. You could go and pick him up for even cheaper if you moved earlier to bring him in. He's only 30 now, so he starts the game at what, 24? Ish, I think. I probably should have checked this, but I mean, you can go and check them in your saves, can't you? 24-ish years old, Lucas Perry, 6'6" goalkeeper with a great set of attributes and really cheap to go and pick up. There's nothing really to hate about that, is there? I recommend him highly. He comes in at number 3. Let's have a look at my top 2 keepers then for FM24. In at number 2, I've gone for a big favourite of mine and somebody, again, that I've signed in this particular save that we are using today. It is Gillam Rest. He's only 23, meaning he starts the game at 18 years old. He plays for Toulouse. He's actually Toulouse's #1 goalkeeper in real life. In fact, I think he's playing for them. He's playing for the second team in this save here. Look, there is, look, 23-24. He's played 28 games for them. He's a big wonder kid goalkeeper for the future in real life. And I think if you signed him early and played him early, you're going to have one of the best goalkeepers on the game. The issue is, unless you play him regularly, I don't think he's going to quite reach his potential, at least not for a few years yet. He's only 23. I'm kind of in that predicament now where I've got Lefont as my first choice keeper. He's 29. I wonder if we bring through Rest to give him the game time to reach his potential, because then you can kind of see an improvement in these attributes. These 15 reflexes might reach 16, 17, which is what we're kind of looking for. He's got that low eccentricity. He's 6'2" with okay jumping reach and aerial reach. A little bit low maybe if you're really being picky. But again, I think if you want to sign him, you can get him for quite cheap. I've seen him listed, transfer listed for about £1.5 million so often. He was 5 million for me. So you can pick him up for cheap. And if you want to use him forever, I think his potential's really high. He's so young. I think you can get yourself a worldy keeper for a really low price. So there's not a lot to hate about that. I really like him. I've seen him a lot better than this as well in some saves. Those are the reasons that he's number 2. But maybe he's one that you have to kind of get a bit lucky with, and hopefully he develops to his fullest. But he comes in at number 2, and he's just been pipped at the top by my best keeper to go and sign in FM24, and that is Nicholas Hedel. Now, I really like Nicholas Hedel because, for one, he meets all of the needs that I have for a keeper in that he has great reflexes and low eccentricity. He's decent in the air with his aerial reach and his jumping reach of 16. He's 6'2". He's got great throwing and kicking as well, which I think is an added bonus. And the best thing about Nicholas Hedel is the fact that he starts his career in the game in Austria, meaning you can pick him up for super cheap. Bayern Munich have picked him up for just under £10 million in 2025-26 here, and they have made him their first choice goalkeeper. I think that is really good. It's really good evidence that he's a good goalkeeper, isn't it? If Bayern Munich are choosing to play him, playing him ahead of Ataba, by the way, another keeper that's on this list, he can be everything you need him to be. He's only 27, meaning he starts the game at 23-24, so he's young for a goalkeeper. You're going to get loads of years out of him. I just don't think you can go wrong. I don't think he has a weakness. I really, really like him. I mean, I'm looking at his attributes, trying to see a weakness here. 10 anticipation, maybe that's it. But what's his average rating? He's got that over 7 average rating, which is what you're really looking for the elite goalies, aren't you? I know that Bayern are going to have higher ratings because they concede less goals, but there you go. Look, the proof is in the pudding. Go and sign Nicholas Hedel. He's my #1 keeper. Now, did I miss somebody? Let me know if I did in a polite way. Of course, there are going to be amazing keepers that haven't made the list. Mike Mignon, there you go. There's one straight off the bat for you. Allison and all of those guys as well. But who are the ones that you would recommend to go and sign? Trubin might be one that I think you guys might recommend, as well as Lunin, the backup keeper at Real Madrid. I feel like those are two that often could have made my list today, but didn't quite make my top 10, but I will acknowledge that they are really, really good. Let me know in the comments below, and then we'll have a full list. We'll have my 10, as well as everyone putting forward their goalkeepers in the comments down below as well. If you're looking for a keeper, this is hopefully been a really useful video for you. If you've enjoyed it, please make sure you do leave a like on the video. And if you have enjoyed the content in general and you want to see more of this, you want to see my top 10 wing backs, maybe top 10 wingers in the future too, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're looking to try and reach 75,000 subscribers as soon as possible. You guys can help with that. But most importantly, we'll finish today's video by saying, have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.